Hitting pure, solid iron shots doesn't have to be complicated. I'm going to make it super simple because it's all about controlling your circle, and I'm going to show you how you need to do that and how it can impact your strike. So we have a circle. The golf club moves around our body in this big circle shape. We need to control that circle in 3 different sort of directions, if you like. That's how we ultimately improve the strike. So let's say we have this circle around my body, which is the golf club. We have to control where that circle is backwards or forwards. We have to control whether that circle is too high or too low. And we have to control whether that circle is too far away from us or too close to us. If you do those 3 things, you can flush the ball every single time. So let's start with this face on. How do we shift the circle backwards and forwards? Well, we've got irons. We're talking about irons. We know that great players have certain patterns. They always hit the ball and the club then goes into the ground. That's really the best way to play the game. Gives us the most consistency, gives us the best flight and distance. Now, when I take an address just inside this golf ball, if I was to simply move my club back and through, you can see that it doesn't go into the ground because my setup is basically me resting my circle on the ground. So if nothing changes, then my club won't strike down on the golf ball. I won't get that descending angle of attack with that divot. What I have to do in my golf swing is I have to move my circle forwards. That's where this stick comes in and this stick comes in. What we need to do in the transition between our backswing and our downswing is we have to move closer to this alignment stick that you can see here. It's around about a hand's width outside my lead thigh. So as I go to the top of the backswing, as I complete my backswing, I have to start drifting towards the target. You can see I've closed that gap. Maybe not fully, but I've reduced that gap. What that does, it means as I come down and through, I've shifted my circle forwards. That is so key. It's what I call a non-negotiable. We can't get away from it. All the great players do that. There are no great players out there where their circle doesn't shift, and there are certainly no great players where their circle shifts backwards. They all take their circle and in the downswing and the transition, they shift it forwards. That's how they start to hit down on the golf ball and how they start to create those divots after the golf ball. What does this alignment stick do? Well, if I took my address and I move the club back and through, I'm probably going to get close to hitting that stick, as you can see there. So the idea is, you place an obstacle. It could be a towel, could be a stick, could be anything really, could be one of your golf clubs. You're going to take an address and you're simply going to make some little swings where you go back, and as you start to get towards halfway, you're going to start to shift forwards and land the club on the ground without hitting the stick. Super slow, super short swings. Keep it really simple. Don't overthink it. You're just trying to control where the club lands. I can see that landed in this area here. I did not hit the alignment stick. That is absolutely key. So we go back, we shift, club lands target side of the stick. If I do this wrong, if I don't shift, everything gets taken out. Clearly that was wrong, but I get that feedback. So this little exercise is really, really great. It's simple and it gives me some instant feedback on whether I've been able to shift my circle towards the target. All you then have to do is add a ball in, but keep it slow to begin with. So if you're someone who struggles with thin shots, fat shots, or just inconsistent in where you hit the ground, it could be that you're not particularly good at regulating or controlling the height of your circle. This little exercise is going to help you do that. Now, I'm not going to give you any technical information here because I'm a big believer in actually getting better at golf through just developing your skill. This exercise is going to allow you to do that. You can see I've got 3 golf balls here, all teed up, but this one is very low, kind of how I would tee an iron up. That one's a bit higher, that one's almost at driver height. Now, if I was looking to hit those shots all from the centre of the golf club, clearly I would need to change how high or how low my circle is relative to the ground to suit each of those opportunities. Now, that's such an important skill to have because that's a golf course. It's not flat. There's humps and bumps and slopes, and very often when we set up to a golf ball, it might be slightly below us slightly above us, it might be sitting really up in the rough, it might be sitting down in a divot. We have to have the ability and the skill to control the height of the circle. This is how you're going to train it. So all I'm going to do is I'm very simply going to hit those 3 shots, my sole goal being to find the centre of the golf club. Less thoughts, more instinctive, reacting to where the ball is what we're after here. So I'm going to set up, and clearly I need to raise my circle a little bit off the ground for this one to work. And I was still able to find the centre of the club, not easily, but quite nicely. This one, circle's got to go a little bit lower. Again, pretty solid strike. And then this last one, which is obviously kind of more like how we would play an iron shot, I've got to move my circle more underground. And there we see a divot. So there's a real key message here that we're not after this circle that goes underground every single shot we hit. What we're after is the ability to control that circle, how high it is, and match it to the situation that you're faced with. Now that last one, my circle had to move forwards, which we've already done, and underground. But that didn't work on that first one. I had to raise it up a little bit. So tapping into your skill, learning how to develop your skill, and having things that you can do in practice like this, which help you develop that. And also they're pretty good fun as well. So that is how you regulate the height of your circle. What about the final element that we need to control? So in this final section, we're looking at really heel strikes, toe strikes. Obviously we don't want those. We want the ones at the center, but we're looking at how we control the strike across the face this way. Now, because that last exercise that you've just done was fantastically successful and you hit some superb shots, we're gonna use the same theory. We're gonna set up to this middle golf ball here. And from that setup, I'm gonna make some golf swings where I try and hit the inside ball, the outside ball, and then that centered ball. So again, I'm learning how to move my circle out and how to move my circle in. If you're someone who, let's say, consistently hits off the heel of the golf club, what we can sort of safely say, if we keep it relatively simple, is you're just not particularly good at regulating where that club is out and inwards. Now, there are a few things that really make a difference before we do this exercise. If I'm someone who sets up with the weight very much on my heels, let's say, at setup, it's likely that through my golf swing, that weight will move more onto my toes and my circle will get shifted out and away from me. So we need some good fundamentals at address. So if I set myself up to this middle golf ball here, what I'm really looking for in my address position is my weight to be through the middle of my feet, my shoulders to be out in front of my knees, and my arms to be hanging freely down from my shoulders with some space. So if I take this golf club and pop it at the back of my shoulder, we can hopefully see how that falls in front of my knee. That's key. This is going to give you issues. You can see how that club now falls back behind my knee. That's too much weight on my heels. And very often, wherever your weight starts, it's going to move opposite to that in the golf swing. So if I start on my heels, it's going to move towards my toes. If I start with it too much on my toes, it's going to start to move more back. And obviously that can affect your ability when it comes to controlling where that circle is in terms of away from you and towards you. So once you can get a really good, solid, balanced setup, as I hopefully have there, now I can attempt the little exercise. So that golf ball I'm setting up to in the middle, that feels normal. But in this golf swing, I'm going to see if I can hit that inside golf ball. Now, again, I'm not thinking about technically what I'm doing. I'm not going to try and intentionally move my arms somewhere different. I'm just going to be using my eyes. I'm going to be instinctively reacting to that golf ball. So, set up to the middle one. Can I hit the inside one? And I'd say that wasn't bad. It's kind of finished in the fairway. That was definitely a little bit at the heel, and I can see from the divot pattern that it was. But that's to be expected because that was quite a strange shot to hit. So, set up to that middle again. This time, can I hit the outside ball? Oh, that felt pretty strange, but not bad. It's a little bit off the bottom of the club. And again, finally, this one should feel relatively normal now. Set up to this middle one and give it a hit. If you want to start flushing those irons, hitting pure iron shots, you need to be able to control your circle across those 3 different directions. Those exercises will help you do it.